Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're making what I think is one of my mother's best dishes, chicken marsala. And usually when I get a recipe from my mother, my dad, my grandmother, I tend to put a little spin on it. I give it my own personal touch. Well guys, not this dish. My mother's chicken marsala is a tried and true one of the best marsalas I've ever had. And of course, her influence comes from Avellino. As you know, I've told you, my great-grandmother was born in Montefiore in 1887. She was the primary teacher for my mother of Italian cooking, including myself. She lived to be 108. We all got our influence from her. So all of my recipes, most of them have a very heavy influence from Avellino. And of course, when we're talking about chicken marsala, the first thing we're going to do is chicken. And let me say this, a lot of people make marsala different ways, but I've seen a lot of people take that raw chicken and put it right in the sauce and just cook it in there. And for me, that's like boiled chicken. I was never a fan of the boiled chicken method. I didn't like the way it kind of got rubbery. I pan-sear my chicken. I pan-sear it for all my chicken dishes. Whether I'm making chicken ziti and broccoli, or chicken piccata, or chicken marsala, I always start with that pan-seared piece of chicken. So that's the first thing I'm going to give you today, is pan-seared chicken 101. Okay? I'm going to get everything set up behind me, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to make a fantastic pan-seared chicken. Alright everyone, the first thing with pan-seared chicken, I use cornstarch. Alright? That's a half a cup of cornstarch. Now, my mother, she uses flour, and most people use flour. And the reason why I use cornstarch is it started with my daughter who has celiac disease, okay? So when I made any kind of chicken dish, she couldn't have the flour. So I started coating her chicken with cornstarch instead of flour. And one day, she had an extra piece of chicken, and I went, oh, a piece of chicken. And I had her chicken, and I stood back, and I looked at my wife, and I went, her chicken's better than our chicken, because the cornstarch is better than the flour. The cornstarch puts a better shell on the outside of the chicken than the flour. Well, guess what? I started using cornstarch for everything. And now, it's gluten-free as well. So, the only thing that adds gluten to your chicken marsala is the flour. Now we don't have it anymore. I dredge my chicken in cornstarch, and I thicken it with cornstarch as well at the end. So, all that's getting, it's getting a little salt, a little pepper, and a little garlic powder. Right in that cornstarch, right? And of course, this is the only salt that I'm going to put in the chicken marsala. Because in my mother's recipe, we use prosciutto. And the prosciutto, it adds all the salt we need. So, I'm going to get this mixed up, and this is what we're going to dredge our chicken in. Cornstarch, a little garlic powder, a little salt and pepper. Okay? Now, I take my chicken breasts and cut them right in half. So from every whole breast, I get 2 halves. You only tenderize the top half on the tender side. You can't tenderize the other side, they'll just turn to mush. So I had 4 boneless, skinless breasts. I cut them in half. I tenderize the top. I now have 8 pieces of chicken. Alright, so I'm going to take the first 4 pieces that I'm going to pan-sear. Going to get them in there. Gonna give it a tap, get any excess off, right? And I'll get 4 of these ready for the pan. Now that pan, it's been on since I've been talking. That's on medium, all right? And your pan, for pan-seared chicken, it's gotta be hot, all right? These aren't thick, you can see. That's a thin piece of chicken. Not gonna take long to cook, all right? So, going to get my first 4 pieces that are going to go in. I'm going to turn around and wash my hands, and when we come back, we're going to be dropping those in the hot pan. Okay, hot pan. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hit it with the bone of olive oil. Just a little bit, alright? Oh, you see it's going to smoke right there. Then, each one of these pads is a tablespoon of butter. In that goes. Okay, we're going to let that melt. The butter's going to cool the pan just a little bit. Alright, And in with our chicken, here we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. So, I'm gonna give this, I don't know, 3-4 minutes on that side. When we come back, we're gonna be flipping them over. All right, everyone. About 3.5 minutes here, and come over and take a look. You see that? You see that? You can hear it. It's almost crispy. It's crispy on the outside. Pan-seared chicken. That's the way a piece of pan-seared chicken should look, right there. Okay, so I'm gonna dredge the other 4, and when we come back, we're gonna be swapping them out for the next batch. All right, everyone. These are done. Oh, look at that golden brown on the back side. Beautiful. Okay, so in these go, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a piece of tin foil, cover these up, all right? And what I like to do is I get a paper towel, I like to get all that nastiness off from the first set, right? Boom, beautiful. In the zinc that goes, and we start again. A little bit of the bone of olive oil, another tablespoon of butter. Nice. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pan-sear this other set of chicken, and I'm gonna clean everything up, and when I come back, we're gonna be making our marsala. Alright, everyone, here we are. I'm gonna go over all the ingredients with you while my pan's getting hot, okay? Now, like I told you, we use prosciutto. What I do is I go to the deli and I say, give me 3 slices, 1/8 of an inch thick. And of course they look at me like I have 5 heads, because everyone knows when you get prosciutto, you want it wafer thin. And I go, I want mine 1/8 inch thick, and they look at me and I go, listen, I'm gonna ribbon it for Marsala. So believe me, I know what I'm doing, okay? So 3 slices, 1/8 of an inch. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe almost a half a pound of prosciutto there. I use a lot of mushrooms. I love mushrooms. You don't have to use this many mushrooms. That's a big container, 16 ounces, probably 4 cups of mushrooms. Now, my mother's recipe, she does a half a cup of wine and a half a cup of chicken broth. For me, I use a cup and a cup, because you can always take away if there's too much sauce, but you can't add it. If you don't make enough sauce and you're serving this over pasta and it gets dry and people are scraping the pan looking for it, you're all done. Make more sauce instead of less sauce, because you can always do away with it, but you can't add it once it's cooked, okay? Cup of chicken broth, cup of Marsala wine. I'm gonna start with 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I got 2 for the end. That's a half a cup of fresh chopped parsley. Some salt and pepper, but I'm not gonna salt, guys. I'm not gonna salt until the end, because you know prosciutto, it's salty. It's high blood pressure on the cutting board right now. So we're not gonna add any salt until the end. If you want extra salt, you can put it there, all right? So, my pan's hot. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop in, this isn't a diet dish, guys. I mean, we're starting with a half a stick of butter right there, okay? So yeah, it's delicious. But you know, I'm sure the cardiologist wouldn't be too happy right now if he saw me dropping that half a stick of butter in there, okay? So we're gonna melt this down, give it a minute, and we're gonna throw in our mushrooms. We'll be back. All right, everyone, butter's melted. You can see, there's a good amount of butter in there. In goes the mushrooms. And believe me, there's a lot, but you know, mushrooms, they're gonna cook down. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, we're going to get those in there, and I'm going to hit them with a little bit of fresh pepper on the top. Alright, and we're going to let these start sauteing. While these are sauteing, okay, I'm going to ribbon my prosciutto. Now, ribbon, small guys, see it? Little slivers, just like that. Beautiful. Alright, so we're going to ribbon this whole thing, and we're going to let those mushrooms cook, and when we come back, we'll be adding our prosciutto. everyone. As you can see, our mushrooms, they're cooked down. So now, here's that pile of prosciutto, all ribboned up. In that's gonna go. Beautiful. Okay, so we're only gonna cook this for a minute or two. Because, you know, prosciutto, like anything else, if you cook it too long, it's gonna turn into rubber. Okay? So we're just gonna cook this a minute or so in the butter with the mushrooms. And when we come back, we're gonna be adding our Marsala wine. Okay, so a minute, just a minute with the prosciutto, that's it. And in goes your cup of Marsala. And we're gonna reduce this by half. I love Marsala wine. I was lucky enough to visit the town of Marsala in Sicily, 2014, when we went to Shaka with the statue of the Madonna from Boston. What a fantastic town. We went to the factory where they make the wine. We got to sample it. It was a great day. I love Marsala wine. So, we're going to let this reduce by half, take 3-4 minutes, and when we come back, we'll be adding our chicken broth. Alright, and now that we reduced our wine, I'm going to hit it with a cup of chicken broth. Alright, and now we're going to let this reduce. Probably not by half, but just for 2 minutes. Let's get that chicken broth nice and bubbly. Reduce it for a minute or two, and we'll be back. Alright everyone, we're ready to finish this up, okay? And the first thing my mother does, which I've adopted, is I take 2 tablespoons of butter. Just a little more butter for the cardiologist, right? We're gonna put 2 pads of butter in there, and we're gonna put our parsley in, okay? And we're gonna get that incorporated. Then, what I made here is I made like a thickening roux, alright? Basically, it's just cornstarch and hot water in that little cup right there. And that's how you thicken your sauce. Now, it all depends what you're doing. If I was going to serve this with macaroni, and the macaroni is going to be in this sauce, I'm not going to thicken it up too much. I'm going to leave it fairly liquidy for your macaroni. If you're not serving it with macaroni and your Marsala is just chicken with Marsala on a dish, I'm going to thicken it up. That's what I'm going to do today. But if you're going to serve it, like I said, with macaroni, feel free to leave it a lot more liquidy because you're going to want that for your pasta. Alright? Now, like I said, this is a tablespoon of cornstarch and some hot water. Alright? And I'm just going to start with just 2 because it thickens pretty quick. Alright? And we're going to give that a minute. And the whole purpose of that is if you just dumped, flour or cornstarch in here, it tends to clump up and you get those little balls and you just can't get rid of them and you're trying to dig in the pan and stuff. So that's why you make that with the hot water. You dissolve it first before you add it to your sauce. Alright, and I'm going to give it a little more. Alright. Yeah, nice. Okay, now, of course, my pan-seared chicken, it's been sitting there in the tin foil. As soon as this sauce is thick enough, I'm going to add all that chicken. And you know something? I'm going to add the rest of that. Because like I said, I'm not making macaroni today. I'm just serving this as a Marsala. Okay. And you can see how thick that just became. It went from, chicken broth to thick. Okay? And that's it. So, now, I'm going to come back here to my chicken, and we're going to add all these pieces right in there. And this is all cooked, so we're just doing this to incorporate a little bit of flavor. So, I'm going to put this chicken in, I'm going to give it a minute to incorporate the flavor, and I'm going to dish it up, and when I come back, I'm going to give you the final product. Alright everyone, here it is. My mother's chicken Marsala. Look at that. Chicken's so tender. Doesn't need any salt. Like I told you, the prosciutto adds plenty of saltiness. That's really the secret ingredient. The prosciutto. The prosciutto really makes it. That's delicious. I hope you enjoyed this chicken marsala episode. If you did, please click that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and as always, don't forget to live, laugh, and cook Italian. Look at that, with the fork. No knife required. Look, nice.